So NATO's approach to Russia is based on what we call a dual-track approach, defense and dialogue. We have to be strong, we have to be predictable, and that's exactly what we do when we now have implemented the biggest reinforcement of our collective defense since the end of the Cold War, and will continue to strengthen our collective defense with high readiness, more troops, and increased investment in our defense. When it comes to land-based nuclear missiles, it has been a consistent position of NATO over several years since the demise of the INF Treaty that we are not planning to deploy new land-based nuclear-capable missiles, but we will make sure that we are responding to new Russian military buildups, including with nuclear weapons. And we are doing that in many different ways, including by strengthening our air and missile defense, increasing the readiness of our forces, and also by, of course, pursuing arms control, and that's part of the dialogue track with Russia.
We were at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. I spoke with the central bank governor. I spoke with a lot of business leaders as well as policymakers there. It was an interesting tone. Essentially, they're projecting 3 to 4% growth GDP-wise over the next year or so. They've also essentially, started the process of de-dollarizing their reserves at the central bank. And there seems to be a big push, frankly, for this digital currency that would be backed by the central bank to get underway. That prototype's due by the end of the year. It seems as if U.S. economic sanctions on Russia are becoming less effective than they once were. As a military man and as someone who stands on the front lines when it comes to dealing with Russia's foreign policy, do you still believe that sanctions are the best weapon to use when it comes to Russia's bad behavior?
Sanctions are important. We have, especially since the aggressive actions of Russia against Ukraine in 2014, the illegal annexation of Crimea, since then we have responded in many different ways to the aggressive actions of Russia. Partly by imposing sanctions. Sanctions should continue and are important, but also by providing more support to close partners as Ukraine and Georgia. And then perhaps the most important thing we have done is that for the first time in NATO's history, we have combat-ready troops in the eastern part of the alliance, new battle groups deployed to the Baltic countries and Poland. We have tripled the size of the NATO readiness force, and after years of cutting defense budgets, all allies are now investing more. So we are not going to mirror what Russia does, but we will respond in a very firm and clear way with a wide combination of different tools, as we have demonstrated over the last years.
Do you think then that economic sanctions continue to be a part of that in terms of the response?
Absolutely. Economic sanctions continues to be a part of that, but it's one of several tools that NATO allies are using. So we need both increased readiness, military presence in the eastern part of the alliance. No one was actually discussing or planning for any NATO deployment in the Baltic countries and Poland before Russia illegally annexed Crimea in 2014. Since then, we have seen a significant strengthening of our collective defense in a defensive but very clear and firm way. And we will continue to make important decisions at our summit on Monday, where allies will agree how to further strengthen our deterrence and defense, including by increasing readiness and also investing in technology, and making sure that we sharpen our technological edge, and also strengthen our cyber defenses, which has proven extremely important as we see Russia trying to use cyber and cyber attacks to undermine trust in our democratic institutions and meddle in our political processes.